Hello, this is Cody Nelson with Cover Crop Kings. April 22nd today, out here in the 3060 plot. Just wanted to come see how things look out here, and you can see there's some red clover coming up. There is some rye coming. We're up here in central Minnesota, and I can tell you there's some things we like and some things that we don't. One thing I know, we were really low on our cereal rye rate that we seeded in here, and we seeded this around V4 to V5. If you go back to some of the past videos from last fall, you saw how green and lush it was, and clearly a lot of that was the annual ryegrass. I believe we were about 30 pounds of winter cereal rye, and I can tell you in the 30 parts, in the 30 inch rows between the 60s, there is virtually no rye growing at all. I am seeing some rye in the 60s, not very tall yet, and very thin and sparse, which does actually make sense. But at such a low rate, and then even lower there, it was seeded the same across every row. So the fact that it didn't come at all in those 30s, it's coming okay in the 60s, but we just need to seed that thicker. And then, you know, the annual ryegrass really probably maybe suppressed it a little bit because it was so dominant last fall. The red clover is actually showing some dominance in this. I'm seeing a lot of red clover at a very low rate. I mean, that was also seeded at a very low rate. So, you know, some things to look at here. We were able to maintain yields this year on this particular farm. We're actually going to run 44-inch in an area where there's 22-inch crops are dominated, I guess. So we actually set the planter up. It's going to be 100% 44-inch corn with some 22s for tests. So but the rest of the farm will be 44-inch corn. So we're going to see how that works. I think I see enough that the rye survived the shade that in the 60s that I think we're going to be okay. We're going to have to redo some seeding rates. Like I said, I think we'll increase the cereal rye, probably decrease the annual ryegrass a little bit. We may, really depends on what you're trying to do for that next crop. If we want to do more red clover clearly can be at an expense. So what's the ultimate goal? You can add a lot of stuff, but you have to look at your resource concerns and what you're trying to identify as a problem. I can tell you in this farm, we've got a corn, bean, wheat rotation with some hay thrown in from time to time. And so we're really looking at, we want to get this rye established early so we can plant beans green into the rye. I'm a firm believer that beans shouldn't be planted any other way anymore with all the benefits we're seeing from that. So, you know, that's really what we're trying to accomplish, and then provide for excess grazing. So we'll add some brassicas and things like that. When you start wanting to do some more nutrient cycling, you definitely need to get some more diversity there. We may add some buckwheat and some other things for some of that nutrient cycling, but really we want to get a thicker stand of rye. I've been working with producers the last several years, and on our as well, where we were interseeding corn early, but we weren't getting the winter rye to handle the shade. So we were doing our diversity early, and then we came back later and planted rye in the fall. That can be accomplished in a multitude of ways, but we're trying to eliminate a pass. Ultimately, we want to spend as little time in the field as possible. So if we can get the rye established at the same time as interseeding, we've got a benefit from that. So that's kind of what we're trying to do with these wider rows. Like I say, I think there's some successes. I think ultimately we really learned we've got to have higher seeding rates to accomplish some of these goals. But the fact that we did have it work I'm seeing some benefits here. A few skulls out here. There was a couple dead deer I found in the area. So anyways, but one thing I do want to look at up here, if you look at that hill, that front part is where it was chopped in the fall. We actually chopped that because we were having a field day, and you can see it's considerably greener there. So that was just straight 30 inch. So that would have been basically our advantage there was just getting it off and getting more sunlight earlier. So when I get into the straight 30 inch corn, I did find some rye, but it's interesting. It was definitely more dominant the further east I got into the field, and less the further west. Normally I would see it a greater success rate on a hilltop when we've seeded underseeded winter cereal rye into corn, and I don't necessarily see that on this field. So I've got to go back and look at a few things. Really got to watch our herbicides that we're doing. We got to make sure that the herbicides being used are going to work with some of these. I've working with some that have some major broadleaf issues, so in those situations we're going to stick with grasses so they can use their proper herbicides. And then also got a couple organic guys that obviously they're not using any herbicides, but they are trying to figure out how can we do this with you know, our cultivation pass, and hopefully we can find ways to eliminate the cultivation needed. But I know one thing we're going to try, we're going to do some 60 inch on my farm. We're going to do straight 60s all the way across the field, and then as soon as that corn starts to come up, we might hit it with like a rotary hoe just to pull out any weeds, and then drill it just with a regular drill. We're just going to go out and drill the cover crop in, and we're going to have a very diverse cover crop blend in that situation. So going to try some things out. Just going to get up here to where we chopped around the edge of this field, and you can see it's on this side of the field, it's pretty green. So this is just the difference in getting it off early and getting sunlight to it right off the bat. Now there's also no stalks here, you know, so no leaves. So it may be just as green over on the other part of the field. You just can't see it as well, and that's a problem. That's kind of what I'm thinking it is. So anyways, you got any questions, want to help you out, we really believe in this 60 inch corn. Just a couple basic things, especially when you're first starting in this. Keep your seed populations the same. If you're going from 60s to 30s, keep your seed pops the same. Use a moderate to high flex hybrid, and try to get your nutrients as close to the row as possible. And then ultimately get the cover crop seeded as early as you can. I think V2, V3 is definitely applicable in that situation. So and I don't know, I really wonder why we can't just use a drill. Make sure you're not messing anything up with your drill. But I think at that point in time, while the growth point of the corn is still underground, I think we're going to be okay. So anyways, if you got any questions, look us up, soilrx.net. Otherwise, ask in the comments. Make sure to subscribe to the Cover Crop Kings page. Like the video, share the video. We appreciate it. We want to get more folks doing regenerative ag. Any way we can help out, we want to. So I'm going to sign out from here, but have a good day, have a good week, and hopefully we get to planting soon.